Dr. Malachi Martin is an eminent theologian, 30 years as an exorcist. He's an expert on the Catholic Church, former Jesuit, and professor at the Vatican's Pontifical Biblical Institute. He's also the author of numerous poignant, illuminating, and controversial writings, including these national best-selling books, The Vatican, The Final Conclave, Hostage to the Devil, The Jesuits, The Keys of This Blood, and, of course, more recently, Windswept House. And he was trained in theology at Louvain. He's got a very impressive background. He received doctorates in the Semitic languages, archaeology, and Oriental history. The guy is just incredible. So without further ado, we're going to go to that first segment with Father Malachi Martin.
It's a very good. You see, the whole question of demonic possession and the Luciferian tradition is a very disturbing thing. And most people, Catholics included, most bishops, and we have 4,700 bishops now in the Catholic Church, most of them don't want to talk about it, don't want to reflect on it. It's a very disturbing fact. And the fact is that demonic possession has increased. I started doing ending and exorcism about 1970 of this century, and since then, the incidence of possession and obsession, demonic possession and demonic obsession, has increased about 740 to 800%.
That's a lot.
It's a very great loss, and then the phenomena has changed. We are now facing groups of 20-somethings or 30-somethings coming to us and saying, look, I made a pact with the devil, with Satan, with Lucifer, however they use it, because I wanted a job, I wanted this woman, I wanted that career, I wanted the money, and I got it all, and now he won't let me go. Please help me. I mean, we have that nowadays. We also have the new phenomenon of the demonic possession, obsession of children.
Demonic possession of children.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Good heavens.
Very frightening. It's very frightening. Very hard to deal with. And
let me ask you this. When we're talking about 700 to 800% increase in demonic possession, how does that translate out to men and women on the street? I mean, does that mean that one... I mean, I don't know how we translate that into numbers, but... I
don't know. I can't... It's very hard for me to do that because, we tried to do about 20 years ago, we said, let's make the profile of the possessable person, okay?
Okay.
And we did our best. We drew up categories like sex, age, economic status, linguistic background, culture, physical appearance, education, money, or riches, or whatever it was, and all the other classifications. We found there was no profile. It seems to be completely random. They're not necessarily poor, they're not necessarily rich, they're not necessarily... For instance, I know, in my whole 33 years in New York, I've come across lousy cops and good cops. I've come across prostitutes for confession, and I've come across businessmen. I've come across all kinds. They're just naughty people.
Right.
But they're not possessed. Possession is a very particular thing.
Well, is it something that depends upon the person?
Yes, it depends on the person. They say yes. They must say yes. Nobody's possessed against his will. You don't suddenly wake up in the morning and say, good God, I'm possessed.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Let's take for an example. I know that I've heard this before, that wherever there is satanic ritual or any kind of occult ritual, there is a very strong danger or a very strong possibility that possession will take place. Is that true?
It can't take place without possession.
You mean the ritual and all of this cannot take place without
somebody being possessed?
So someone in the group that might be involved in something would be a possessed person.
Who organizes it?
What's the telltale signs of a possessed person? Or are there any?
Multiple. It can be various. Hold on, please, one minute. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry for that interruption.
That's all right.
I had to get some water. The multiple signs, and there are telltale signs in younger people. In older people, the signs are very difficult to detect because they've learned to cover up.
Okay.
And an older person who has undergone possession probably is what we call perfectly possessed. That is, they're completely tranquil about it.
And they got a smile on their face.
Yeah, sort of smile. The younger people, though, rebel against it at a certain moment. And hence you have the phenomenon of getting violent and thrashing around. And a baby, when it's hungry, it bangs its head against the ground if you don't feed it.
Mm-hmm.
it also. And there are signs like somebody who's out of control, speaking funny languages, losing control of their bowels, a horrible smell sometimes pursuing them, or freezing cold, or strange happenings, irrational things happening to tables and chairs and pictures and doors and corridors where they walk, or the car they're driving. The signs are multiple, and you've got to be very careful to do a proper diagnosis, because sometimes it's just people are stupid, or whatever it is, or they're afflicted, or they've got a disease like
mental illness of some type.
Yeah, Huntington's chorea or La Tourette syndrome, all of which we know is due to chemical imbalance of some kind or other.
Right.
Or a tumor in the brain. So all that thing must be carefully studied in a particular case.
Do these people know what they're doing, or are they?
Michael, remember this: there is a great attraction about Luciferianism, and the attraction is power. If you lose the grace of God, if you haven't got it, if you don't pray, if you don't belong to Christ, if you don't belong to God, if you've lost His grace, then the next best thing you can find is Luciferian. Because it's a great sense of power, and it does give certain powers. There's no doubt about that. And Lucifer does help his adepts. He does protect them and aid them. They're not completely without resources. And the training, the formation is such that it makes you immune. You're taught to inflict pain without flinching. You're taught to see death. You start with puppy dogs and cats, and you can graduate to babies without a qualm. And destruction, namely by fire, becomes a joy. These are the marks of the Luciferian attachment. And it starts in a funny way through some mistake, like the use of an Ouija board, or transcendental meditation, or through hypnosis, or through, as we found out with the 20-somethings and 30-somethings, positive requests.
What type of requests? I'm sorry?
Young men and women who can't make it, can't get that job.
So they actually ask for it?
Oh, they ask to make a pact. And then they come and say, listen, please help me out of this. He won't let me go. I'm going to tell you a story which may shock you. But a young man whom I knew very well, he lived in New York for a while. And he was a young man, my God. He had the usual libido and the usual... He was very honest, good, and very educated, and a good American. But he got to know a girl, and they slept together. And at a certain moment, she said to him, we must drink each other's blood. Just a little nick in the arm, and you drink my blood, and I'll drink your blood. And that will cement a pact with the Master between us. At that moment, this boy who had been baptized, his angel must have spoken to him silently. He got out of the bed immediately and fled.
So he was presented with a choice, and he obviously had enough.
Well, he just had enough grace
to withstand that.
To get out.
Because I can see that in those types of moments, if a person has no faith, they could be taken.
Oh yeah, and they are taken. There's no doubt about that. And then the snag is, once you're taken, and you have no idea of the tyranny, Michael, the painful, helpless tyranny that grips a man. A strong man will cry, describing their impotency to escape.
So it's very powerful.
They can buy anything, they can have any woman they want, they can succeed in business.
I would imagine that gets old after a while.
You think it's what?
I said I can imagine that would get old after a while, and then they find out they can't get out.
Oh, but what I'm stressing is their helplessness and the tyranny they're subjected to. Mind control is not the way to put it. It's oppression. It's the most extraordinary, and it's the most extraordinary thing. The pain they have, the helpless pain they have. They can do anything but escape it. And their minds, their conscious lives, their sleep, their waking, their love-making, their money-making, their everything, is all darkened over by this horrible shadow. And they can't do anything about it. It's the helplessness, the pain. They cry.
Wow.
They weep, tears, and they can't do anything. They're caught. It's a terrible slavery. As you know, Satanism and Luciferianism is generally generational.
Right.
It's your father and mother rear you to it.
That's how babies are possessed. When you were mentioning earlier.
No, they're not possessed. No, they can be obsessed profile. Then they must
make a choice.
And they must arrive at the point that they can say yes.
Yes.
And babies can't. But it's a complicated question. The mechanics are very, very difficult to describe in a short time.
In the remaining moments of the program,
sure.
Tell us, what can we do as people? What do we do to defend against this, or how do we prepare for this? What do we do?
Your own life, personal life, first of all. Be clean. Observe the law. Take your beliefs and refurbish them. Take your faith out of your pocket and polish it up. It's the coin. And make sure you live according to your principles and not according to the passions that the corrupt world around us dictate. That's all you can do, really. Then, if your function as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a priest, as a clergyman, as a husband, whatever it is, enables you to help people to see the truth and to not live by lies and dishonesty, that you're supposed to do that. But there's not much else you can do except find the grace of God. If you haven't got the grace of God, go and ask God for it.